yes, we have to be accountable and, we have to say out loud that we have a responsibility to do a good World Cup because we're playing at home. For us, I think we're living an era in Canada soccer where I think we're going to be at the top level when it comes to World Cup.
This is Vamos, presented by Michelob Ultra Superior Light Beer, and I'm your host, Portuguese Gomez. This week in Vamos, we're sitting down with a player whose journey embodies resilience, bicultural identity, and the rising tide of Canadian soccer. He's a key figure in both club and country, a central midfielder now for FC Porto and the Canadian men's national team. Stephen Eustáquio, my man, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for being on Vamos. I love talking to people who feel, breathe, and live the game. I feel like I'm talking to a future coach when I look at you. You seem like somebody who just breathes the game. Am I right about that?
Yeah, to be honest, I enjoy football a lot. I'm probably going to take the level B in Portugal this year. So let's see. It's a tough world out there when it comes to coaching, but let's see what happens.
Why would you want to be a coach? I wanted nothing to do with coaching after I was retired. I was thinking to myself, like, I don't want the same lifestyle. I just want to chill. It seems like it'd be more pressure. You want to go back into that. That's how much you love the game.
Yeah, I think that's my ikigai, but at the same time, like I don't need to be a first coach, right? I can be a second coach, third coach, whatever. Like for me, what keeps me going, what moves me is just like how to understand the best way possible the game and just try to help everybody else if it's tactically, technically, whatever. So it doesn't, I don't need to be a first coach, to be honest. That's where the pressure comes. That's real pressure over there.
That's right, man. That is real pressure. Let's talk about this love for the game because I see you and I see a definite passion for the game. Excuse me. You were born in Ontario, Canada. Obviously, Portuguese roots, Portuguese background. Talk to me about that duality of your culture and how it maybe infused the Canadian with the Portuguese of who you are today as a footballer.
Yeah, so I was born in Canada, in Leamington, Ontario, but both my parents are Portuguese. So they were working in Canada. I was born, so my dad played football in amateur level. Obviously, we always try to follow Portuguese football, while we're in Canada, and just a love for the game. I remember when I was going back to Portugal for vacation, just to see all the kids like play football on the beach, at the local club and how they felt it and how they lived it. And then when I came back to Canada, it was a little bit different because back then there was always only the summer leagues, right? We would only play football for like 3 months. So when I moved back to Portugal when I was 7, that's where I started to understand, like, okay, like people here breathe football. And then I was just like having fun with my friends first. A couple years passed. I started to feel that I was pretty good at what I was doing at a youth level. Took a risk. And here I am.
Do you think there's a certain style to Portuguese football? Like if you were to say a brand that is Portuguese football, what would that be?
It's hard to say, but at the same time, like we have to start to understand why we're such a small country with not that many population, but at the same time, we're like up there when it comes to players, coaches, and whatever. And I think like probably the base is that Portuguese people are very hardworking. We adapt quick. We try to adapt. We're not stubborn. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have the best players in the world. We have the best coaches in the world as well, just because of that adaptability. And everybody loves the game. So yeah, I think one thing I should point out is just how hardworking and adapt.
People, they're very patriotic. They're very proud of being Canadian. But when it comes to the world's game, when it comes to football, as of late, you are making waves. Pre-2022 World Cup, that World Cup cycle, Canada made waves. Now you're making waves. But before, it was a select few. De Guzman, Dwayne De Rosario, maybe a Will Johnson. There wasn't too much to really tout about. What has changed in Canadian football?
It's hard. It's hard to say because I wasn't following Canada football back then when Julian de Guzman was sharing the pitch with Thibaut Hutchinson and all that. I started with the program in 2019, but even back then, like we weren't on the level like we are now. I think we are lucky to have such a team in today's days. Or how can I say this? Like the amount of quality we have. It's not because the facilities or coaching or whatever back then. Same time, like I feel that just lucky years to have such individual players with so much quality that are showing up. I remember that when I started in 2019, Sponzi was rising. Jonathan David was rising. Like from 2019 back, there's only a couple of players that are in the team, like two or three, maybe. And to be honest, like the amount of importance that Atiba had back then, like for me, Atiba was my role model when I started at the national team. And then if you ask Atiba who was his role model, probably Julian de Guzman, as you said. So yeah, for me, it's just happy days that we're living the type of life we're living right now with the team. But at the same time, we have to thank those guys in the back that made the whole hard work for us to be at the stage we are right now.
Man, Stephen, I'm 43 and I played against Atiba. You're bringing me back, my man, talking about Atiba Hutchinson, the Canadian national team. Listen,
Yeah.
Canada's had some awesome footballers, and I love how diverse the background is and how everybody's story is different. If I were a Canadian kid right now and I wanted to be a footballer and I wanted to follow your footsteps, what's the best piece of advice you would give somebody in terms of their development? Because you went through what I would say is one of the best developing countries in the world for football, which is Portugal.
You're right. I think Portugal is one of the most, top countries when it comes to development. I think our youth system and how like the coaching staff and level that we have in the youth system in Portugal is very high standard. In Canada, I think obviously because of the country is so big and there's not many. So let's say if we're in the MLS, there's only three clubs, and then CPL now is trying to move mountains. I think when I started with the national team, there wasn't CPL still. Um, so yeah, what I could say, just try to work hard as maximum as you can, and to be honest, like if you could take a risk to fight for your spot abroad, especially in Europe and in these countries that that they bet on youth. I think that's one of the main goals that I think a kid should have, and obviously never forgetting about school because it's very important to have a good level of degree. But at the same time, like if you could take a risk, try to build your game in Canada. But if not, like try to go to Europe and try to develop yourself.
I want to talk about one of the risks you took. In 2019, you went to Club Cruz Azul down in Liga MX in Mexico. Pedro Caixinha, a renowned Portuguese coach, one-time coach of Rangers, brought you down in 2019 to Cruz Azul, which is a massive club in Mexico. A lot of history, a lot of pressure. There was a certain moment where you actually came in. It's the second game, okay? And you have a tackle and you get sent off. It goes to VAR, it's reviewed, it gets rescinded, you stay on the field, and then shortly after you end up injured and you tear your ACL. Run through the emotions of what that day was like for you.
I was in Mexico City, obviously very different culture, very different country than Portugal. 2,400 meters of altitude, a lot of people, big club, big pressure, and bunch of things that I wasn't used to. And I think that at the time, because I went in January, right? I didn't have a preseason or whatever. It's just like a move to a club that is so big, and I just had to pick things right away. I had to start training. Was waiting for my documents. I was searching for a house. I was living in a hotel. This and that, this and that. It's like it's so much for a kid that's only. I think at the time I was like 21 years old. It's so much information that comes to you without you being prepared. And then my debut was at the cup. I think we played Alebrijes in the second division. I
Yes,
think that's the name,
of course.
Alebrijes, exactly. So I started that game. I played like 60 minutes, trying to get in the rhythm. And then the game at home we played against, I don't want to be mistaken, I think it was Tijuana. We played at the Azteca against Tijuana. And that's the story, man. That's the story. I had a tackle. Obviously, I felt that I didn't hit the player, so I knew that it was a bad red card. But at the same time, like I don't know refereeing in Mexico. I don't know what they do. I don't know if they're gonna still continue with the red card or not. Whatever, whatever. So I was a little bit like I told my colleagues Javier Salas, Rafael Baca, even Corona, the goalkeeper. I told him like, guys, I didn't hit him. Up to the referee. This is not a red card. He went to VAR, got me a yellow. And then, like a couple of minutes after, in a change of direction, I hurt my knee, and that was it.
I've done my ACL as well. Shortly after coming from the national team of Copa America, I was on top of the world, and that same week in a training session, did my ACL, and I thought my career was over.
Yeah,
I was in my mid-20s, thought my career was over. It felt like a very dark period for me of doubt. What did you go through, and how did you overcome?
it was a hard time because I was 21 years old. I had the example of my brother that went through the same process, so it was very good to have somebody that was so close that been through that process to guide me in every step. But at the same time, like we're talking about a 21-year-old kid that moved to Mexico. He's by himself. Obviously, my girlfriend was studying back then. She couldn't move straight away with me. So I'm a kid. I'm in Mexico, big team with big expectations personally and the team as well, obviously. And then we're talking about a transfer that was evaluated with 7 million because I was bought for 3.5 for 50% of the pass. So obviously Cruz Azul and the fans were expecting a lot from me. Then this happens. It was dark days at the time, but at the same time, the naiveness of a 21-year-old player can be the same. We can flip the coin, and we can grab the motivation that a 21-year-old player has. So in my mind, I was like, okay, like this happened. I'm still young. Let's see how it goes, but I'm gonna give everything. And at the time, like I thought I was professional. And when I say this, that I thought I was professional, obviously I wasn't drinking, I wasn't eating stupid, like none of this. But like after the injury, that's when I really started becoming a professional. That's when I really started going to the
Hmm.
gym 1 hour earlier. That's when I really started like understanding, okay, no, I have to be powerful. I have to do gym work. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to eat well. I have to rest. I have to, and as you said, you had a ACL injury as well. Like the amount of work we do in the gym to recover from that injury is a lot. Like I was doing like 3 hours every day of leg work in the gym by myself with my instructor. Like it's dark days, but at the same time, like you feel this amount of power, just like knowing that you're developing and growing and getting stronger and getting quicker and jumping more and being more aggressive. And then I started to get addicted to it. I'm like, okay, like I should take advantage of these 8 months and be stronger, be more athletic, do what I have to do to be better. And for me, when I came back, it was one of the best seasons I ever had in my life.
I could not agree more with you. I'll start with you feel like a super athlete because you're training 2 to 3 times a day and it's just strength training. You're trying to build that strength up to protect the knee. I felt that immediately. Till this day, I am scarred. I cannot see a stationary bike, my man. I do not want to
Yeah,
ever see a stationary bike
for
again.
sure,
I
for
felt like
sure.
that's all I did. So I 100% agree with you. Before I move on, the Mexico talk, obviously it is Mexico City. It's one of the I would say, greatest cities on earth if you've been there and gotten to experience it. Culinary wise as well, the food was amazing. Did you get a chance to eat tacos al pastor? Any good food while you were down in Mexico City?
Yeah, I tried everything to be honest. Couple of times, it's so different. Like the condiments. How can I say? Like even like pre-game meals in
Spicy. Yeah, are
Portugal.
you into
Yeah,
spicy
that's what I'm
food?
saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like in
Okay.
Portugal, we're so used to having like chicken, rice, pasta, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but we don't change a lot. When I went to Mexico, it was like enchiladas. It was like everything. I'm like, how do you guys eat the beans before a game? I never saw this before. I'm like, how you guys eat this
Oh yeah,
before a game?
frijoles.
Yeah, frijoles, exactly. Frijoles, quesadillas, cheese, tomato,
Oh yeah.
whatever this, that. I'm like, wow, you guys are different. But at the same time, that's just their culture. And I'm the one that has to, adapt to them. So I tried a little bit of
Exactly,
everything.
man.
To be honest, man, I enjoy the culture so much. And even the people from La Oficina, of Cruz Azul, like they were looking at the players like, oh my God. And I talked to them, everything. They were so like gentle. Even if I needed something like the stupidest thing, they will be there for me to help me. Like for me, people from Cruz Azul, like 5 stars, five stars.
That's awesome. That's very good to hear. Before I leave the Cruz Azul talk, I did want to touch on Pedro Caixinha. I'll share a quick story for you, and maybe you can elaborate on who he is. He was a Rangers
Okay.
coach at one time. When I was at
Yes.
Santos, we did the first 2 weeks. I don't believe we touched a soccer ball. It was all fitness, and we were getting sick of the 3-a-days and whatnot. And he promised us a special dinner. And, there was a glass of champagne and some good food for everybody at the special dinner. He put on a video. And in this video, it's a bullfighter. And this bullfighter is taking on the bull, and he literally gets flipped on his back, and he's about to take the horns. And you see these people, one after another, jump on top of the bullfighter to protect them from the horns, like if they're going to take the horns themselves for the bullfighter. And we were sitting there like, okay, we get it. The objective is to prepare, or to fight for each other, to protect each other. And he slows it down. And as he's slowing it down, you realize that the first one to jump on the bullfighter was Pedro Caixinha. The guy who's telling you to protect each other is Pedro Caixinha. I was blown away at one, the mentality, and two, like, he's not asking you to do something he wouldn't do himself.
Yeah. He showed the same thing in Cruz Azul. Obviously, he's from more of the interior territory in Portugal, where there's a lot of bowl shows or whatever it's called. And he was part of one of those. How can I say? He's part of that sport, if I can say it like that. So that talks loud about his personality. He's the guy that's not afraid of anything. He's the guy that if he needs to speak, he needs to speak. He's very encouraging, and I mean that translates to how he is as a coach. Remember, like even the speeches he had before the game, uh, they were like they were giving you chills because he's so passionate.
Yeah.
And even when he's yelling, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
veins that he has in his throat, like you can see that things that, it moves him. It moves him. You know what I mean? So for me, I didn't have the pleasure. How can I say this? It was coached by him, but I didn't have the pleasure because of my knee. At the same time, like he's the type of guy where when it's to work, it's to work. But when it is to
Yes.
have a nice dinner, drink a nice beer
Oh,
or
yes.
whatever, he's there for you as well. So for me to have a coach that can do 50-50, top level.
I want to talk about John Herdman in the sense of the 2022 World Cup cycle. What changed? Because everybody in CONCACAF, and I say this respectfully, thought of Canada as an afterthought. They weren't worried about Canadian soccer. They are now. And I think that started with John Herdman. What changed in that World Cup cycle?
For me, like our World Cup qualifying for 2022 was like one of the most craziest, best adventures that we ever had as a team. I think like because back then I think it was because of COVID and everything got a little bit stretched. It's not stretched, but like a little bit like shortened. So we were doing like 3 game windows or 4 windows in a row. So there was like this window where we played in Mexico, where we draw in the Azteca against Mexico. We went to Jamaica.
That's
So let's
right.
say we're playing in 2,400-meter altitude against Mexico. We get a draw there. 2 days after, we're playing in Jamaica, where it's 35 degrees. We have to get a result there. And then we're back in Toronto, where it's probably 5-6 degrees cold, and we have to get a result there. This happened for 3 or 4 FIFA windows straight in a row. So we were going to these countries and traveling back to Toronto. And then it's just how are we doing that? How are we recovering? How are we traveling? Is the plane good? Is the food good? And for me, John Herdman was like the masterpiece of all of this. Like he defended our like the players. He was always looking for the best conditions possible, always looking to motivate us, always looking to motivate the players to have the best outcome ever. And for me, like it was a big change in, you know, when he first started like that World Cup campaign, he was like, we're going to qualify for the World Cup. But let's say in 40 games, we have to win 36. We're looking at him like, John, are you sure that we're going to make it? And like, he didn't let us doubt about that. And I think that was key. Then when we started playing and when we started like showing that, okay, we can do this, bringing Mexico to the Azteca, to the Azteca in Edmonton, beating them in Edmonton, bringing Costa Rica to Edmonton, bringing all these teams to Toronto, where for us it's our fortress, and then winning and winning and winning. And for us, it was the craziest adventure. And obviously that led to the 2022 World Cup, which was an amazing experience.
You guys would run teams into the ground. You went to the Azteca and I thought should have won. Jonathan Osorio goal, you guys ended up drawing there. I thought you ran their midfield into the ground and gave a blueprint for the rest of CONCACAF on how to play them. And then you did the same thing to the U.S. men's national team on multiple fronts. I think in Nashville, if I'm not mistaken, it was a draw. And then
we draw in Nashville and we won at home.
Yes, and then you beat them and you won them. You won at home. Listen, you make it for the first time in 35 years to your second World Cup as a country. An amazing achievement. And you not only made it, but you did it in style as the number one team in CONCACAF. And you're what I would say was probably the group of death. If you think about this, it's the top nation in CONCACAF per World Cup qualifying cycle. It's the golden generation of Belgium. It's a World Cup runner-up in Croatia, who ends up being a semifinalist. And it's the, surprise team of the tournament in Morocco, who also became a semifinalist. Yeah. I want to talk to you about the group. Is there anything you wish you would have done differently?
We went with a little bit of high expectations to the World Cup because, a team that finishes first in CONCACAF, that's just how it is. I think we knew that we were in a tough group, but in our heads, like, as you said, we were playing against Belgium, which at the time, I don't want to be mistaken, and you can check this after. I think at the time they were like first or second FIFA, ranking.
Oh, they were top five FIFA rankings for sure.
Exactly, something like that. So we were like, okay, Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, Hazard, like, we're talking about a big, big team. Morocco, otherwise, that make it to the semifinal. We were like, okay, if we have a chance, it's against Morocco, but Morocco is the last game. And then Croatia, we were thinking, okay, they have Guardiola was starting to make his first steps into like world football.
He was 20 years old.
Exactly. And then the midfield was because they didn't have Mandzukic, but the midfield was still Modric, Kovacic, and Brozovic. So we're like, okay, guys, first game, Belgium, toughest team of the group for sure. Even if we don't get a result there, we have Croatia, which we probably can get a result. Us being naive a little bit, obviously. And then we can fight for a spot to go through against Morocco, which is obviously we know that they're tougher than us, but at the same time, we didn't know much about them, which was unfortunate. For me, the what killed us, and this is something that I learned from playing a World Cup, and that I'm gonna take to the next World Cup. The first game is probably the most important game ever when it comes to a tournament like
absolutely.
This. If you get a win, if you get 3 points in the first game, happy days. But if you lose the first game, you're going pressure to the second game, which you have to get a result, yes or yes. Even if it's a tie, you have to get a result. And then you have to pray for the other game and then go to the third game with more pressure and get a result there. So for me, our first game was probably the best playmaking game a team in the World Cup probably had. I think us against Belgium was probably like the best game I ever played so far. We were like...
You guys should have won. You should have won.
Exactly. Exactly.
Before this game, I said Canada is going to beat Belgium. You guys ran them into the ground. Unfortunately, it's part of the game. A penalty kick was missed, and I think that affected the psyche, and things happened. But you should have won that game. I'm convinced you should have. And you're right. I believe the statistic is more than 40% of the time, if you win the first game in a World Cup, you advance out of the group stage. But I couldn't agree more.
For sure. I was even my friends from Porto, and we're talking about big players. They would watch the game. They're like, guys, Stefan, if you continue like this, like, it's possible this and that. So the Belgium game, and because we were losing in the first half and we were motivated and it's our first World Cup game, like, we ran until we couldn't anymore. And then with a quick turnaround to the Croatia game, which we needed to get a result, but at the same time, like, we're still fatigued a little bit from the first game, and we're playing against a top experienced team that can keep the ball. You know what I mean? That's why it
Yeah.
was like our World Cup history, like it makes so much sense because like you lose the first
Yeah.
game, which you outran them a lot. You go to the second game, you start very well the first 30 minutes and you score a goal. But then when Kovacic, Modric, and Brozovic keep the ball like that, it was game over.
Listen, I want to talk about the next World Cup you play in, which is the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
You're with FC Porto, you go play the Club World Cup, and that was a fun group, man. I don't think anybody expected the group to go that way. Many had Porto advancing. Nobody thought that Inter Miami and Lionel Messi had that type of chance. They not only proved, that they had a chance of upsetting Porto. They did, and in dramatic fashion with Messi on the field. But the expectations of Porto in that Club World Cup with Martin Anselmi and how things didn't go well, and maybe the aftermath. Can you talk to me about that?
I think at the end of the day, obviously people were expecting that Porto was gonna do a good tournament, whatever. But at the same time, we came from a hard year, back in Portugal where we didn't do a good season. Obviously, we were making a lot of mistakes. Our team was a little bit. We were changing. We changed a lot, like in the club as well as a team. We changed from the coach Vitor Bruno to Martin and Selmy. I think around January as well, we lost two of our most influential players. That was Galeno that went to our Arabia Saudita, and then Nico that went to Manchester City. So the team was adapting itself, and then we finished a very poor season, and then we have to go straight away to a Club World Cup, which our group was a little bit difficult because we had Palmeiras that was is one of the best teams in South America, and then we had Al Ali, one of the best teams in Africa, and then we had Inter Miami, which obviously they had a lot of percentage of victories, but at the same time they count like players with like Messi, which can resolve a game in any second of in any seconds.
Obviously, you can see I'm wearing a Porto jersey, the new one, the New Balance one. It doesn't have
Looks
Eustáquio on
good.
the
Looks
back. I need to
good.
get Eustáquio on the back. Yeah, it
You
does
will.
look
You
good on
will.
me, man.
You
The
will.
blues always look good. It will. It will. You know the importance of playing for a big team. You know the pressure that comes with it. I'm curious about the pressure that is on you personally with the Canadian national team. Obviously, it's a home World Cup. Home World Cups don't come about very often, especially for countries like Canada. Canada now has the ability, and I saw it here in the United States, the 1994 World Cup, and what it did for football in this country and what it is today. You have the ability to inspire millions. How often do you think about this home World Cup? And well, now, and you look at the Canadian national team, it's not the Canadian national team of old. I look at a coach like Jesse Marsch and his expectations, the intensity in that guy's eyes. What type of responsibility do you feel?
Look, I think we have a couple of points that we can stand out here. Obviously, yes, we have to be accountable, and we have to say out loud that we have a responsibility to do a good World Cup because we're playing at home, and not because of that, because of the past results that we've been having. I think we did an amazing Copa America. I think all the friendlies that we've been having so far, we've been presenting ourselves with very good football. We've been making good results. And at the same time, when we speak about the group stage, I think we're going to have one game in Toronto and two in Vancouver, which we're probably going to fill out the stadium with a lot of Canadians. I mean, for us, I think we're living an era in Canada soccer where I think we're going to be at the top level when it comes to World Cup. I think Jesse is pushing us very, very, very hard. I think we have been showing that we have a good idea of what we want to be at the World Cup. Strong, aggressive. We want to be Mavericks. Pressing the ball, counter attacking. Keeping the ball with quality. I think if you put two teams with white jerseys and you don't know which which team is Canada and all that, by the style of play, I think you can see that. I think you can see at the end of the day which team is Canada and which team is not. And for us, that's very good because everybody understands their roles. Obviously, it's going to be tough. I'm not going to say it's not going to be tough, but at the same time, we have the experience of the last World Cup, And one thing I have to say is that because we are organizing the World Cup as well, we're going to be on the pot one, which makes us, run away from a top team in the group stage, which for us is very beneficial.
Fingers crossed for a good draw, because that is also part of the equation. Don't let anybody fool you. Nobody wants the most difficult draw. They want a favorable draw. Listen, before I let you go, obviously you have a few injuries to the Canadian men's national team. I would say big players, obviously Alphonso, Davies, and now Moises Bombito. Can you talk to me about what you lose as a team not having those two players?
We can talk about more players, because if you obviously Alistair Johnson is now with us as well. He has a major part in what we were doing here, obviously because of the experience and he has, and for the club that he plays. But obviously Fonzie is our captain, a big personality, and it's just like you have to play these big teams, and when they see players like Fonzie and Jonathan David, it's like, okay, like today's going to be hard. We need those types of players. Like nobody can say no. We need those types of players. And obviously because of their quality, they make the team better. So fingers crossed that Fonzie meets us next month. If not, obviously he's going to be top shape in March. Moise Bombito, obviously, everybody enjoys him. You know how important he is for us because of his athleticism and his personality. Obviously, we can push the line a little bit higher because of his speed. We're talking about a maverick back there. Unfortunately, he got injured, so we're only going to see him in March. Then Alistair, obviously, because of what he brings to the table with his experience and how clutch he is as a right back, we're going to see him probably next month or in March as well. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's unfortunate that we aren't capable of, building the team with everybody present to make us better. But at the same time, these players that are not coming are making other players that are now stepping up their game and like, I want to be part of this team, and I can show that I can bring quality. Nico, Ali Ahmed, Schaffelberg, I can go on and on and on. So at the same time, like devastating days that they're not with us, but very happy with the players that, are contributing with minutes. And I think we value ourselves as one and not as individuals. And that's the only way that we can get out of the group stage at the World Cup, is if we are a very good team.
How can I forget Alistair Johnson, friend of the podcast, friend of Vamos? My condolences for getting my man, one of the best personalities in CONCACAF. Had a lot of fun with him on the Vamos podcast. Listen, man, you are a brilliant footballing mind. I could sit here and talk to you for hours, but you're a busy man with lots to do. We really appreciate your time for being on here at Vamos. Thank you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate the pleasure, man. It's a pleasure of mine.
This is Shooting It Straight, presented by Camarena, the most awarded tequila. The World Cup is no longer for the people. The World Cup is now the rich man's game. FIFA is using dynamic pricing. The more fans want tickets, the higher the price climbs automatically. They're maximizing profit at the expense of the fans, at the expense of the very backbone of this sport. Tickets for the U.S. men's national team? Over $2,700 for Category 1. And the cheapest ones? Over $560. And that's before the resale market even starts robbing fans. If you're lucky enough to win a ticket draw, great. But for everyone else, you're trapped in a system built to squeeze you dry. You're in the resale market maze. No way out. To combat this, Mexico's government even passed an anti-resale law. But it doesn't matter, because most fans attending these matches in Mexico will come from abroad. And for the games in Mexico, abroad, the resale market is already exploding. You could already find tickets in Mexico listed for ridiculous amounts. This isn't inclusion, this is exclusion. And even if you do want to spend, and you want to go to the World Cup final in New York, you'll find today, more than 9 months out, on various resale platforms, those tickets are just under $8,000. And that's for the cheapest ones. And we don't even know who's playing yet. If it's Messi versus Ronaldo, forget it. That will not only break the internet, but it'll also break your wallet. It could be the most expensive sporting event in the history of sports. FIFA's dynamic pricing is killing the soul of the game. And if they don't fix this, the World Cup won't belong to the world anymore. It'll belong to the wealthy. And I'm just shooting it straight.